I know it's a difficult subject, and I guess Ms. Forney and Ms. Collette, I would like to ask you, both of you referenced data collection and data reporting. How do each of you think that that would make a difference if we were to engage in that aggressive data collection, data reporting that you've both described? Where would that go?
I would say that the key to this is that we would have real information, facts, as opposed to estimations. The fact that there are certain states that don't even submit their data for the CDC makes it impossible for us to really follow the numbers and track injuries and deaths. Whenever a woman dies by abortion, the underlying cause is featured instead of the abortion on the death certificate. These things are creating data confusion, if you will. So I believe that if we're really interested in caring about women, we start with getting good information so we're not using data from organizations that have predetermined agendas.
Congressman Burgess, the fact is that to the extent there is good data, it's largely from European countries where they have universal health care, and that creates a database for the investigators that want to look at the psychological harms that can arise from abortion, whether they were based on a pre-existing psychological weakness. They also have better data on the correlation between suicide and post-abortion experience. So we don't have a comprehensive healthcare system, and I am glad we don't, frankly, but we could have comprehensive reporting, which we simply do not have in this country. Even Stanley Henshaw, the former demographer for Planned Parenthood and who worked at Guttmacher, has complained that the data that they have is incomplete. 80% of the abortions in this country are reported to the CDC, but that leaves 20% with no reports on them, including the state of California.
Well, it's just interesting. Yesterday in a different subcommittee, we had a hearing on self-driving cars. I realize that sounds unrelated, but the almost universal and all of the witnesses that were there was the acknowledgement that we needed good data on safety and accidents, and to be able to legislate around that space was virtually required to have the information. That's why when both of you brought that up this morning, it struck me that that is something that where I think we would all benefit. Ms. Collette, let me just ask you, because so much is made on the statement of no restriction prior to viability and the age at viability, is that something that was set in court decree, or has that ever been set in statute, the determination of viability?
In fact, the U.S. Supreme Court has addressed statutes that attempted to statutorily define the stage of viability. And as Dr. Robinson and Ms. Northrup testified, the court has held that it is an individual physician's decision, which, based on, you as a doctor know that there are certain conditions, prenatal conditions, that would affect the viability of a pregnancy in general. So that statement regarding the standard is correct. But the Supreme Court has always upheld the right of states to regulate. Early on, it was the second trimester for women's health, and then in the last trimester, of course, to protect the unborn life. And now under Casey, that's not even the standard. The standard is, does the law create a substantial obstacle to a woman's access to abortion?
But it strikes me during the continuum of my professional career, that level of viability has, Parkland Hospital, we were told we had to get a gestation of 33 weeks if there's going to be any hope. 23 weeks was my individual level, and then we saw at the State of the Union 21 weeks. So it does seem to be changing. Are we technically capable of keeping up with the fact that the actual length of gestation is changing for viability?
We're seeing many legislatures examine that very question, and sometimes it's not simply the duration of viability, but as well as the weight, the estimate of weight, which is why ultrasound is so important.
Okay. Thank you. I yield back.